Greetings, flesh creatures. It is I, Megatron. On behalf of TFYLP, I want to congratulate you for listening to the most refined collective podcast on this miserable little planet Earth. Yes. Here you'll find knowledgeable fans discussing every aspect of Transformers and beyond. Now, enjoy the show while I continue my path to complete conquest of all of you miserable biological entities.
4, 3.
Predacons, terrorize!
Like, I gotta have my hand there for it to work.
Oh, okay. Welcome everyone to TFYLP. Tonight is Monday, May 2nd. It's episode 579. 279, 479. There we go, 479.
4,779. Wow.
Yeah. So that's what's happening tonight, and I am Phil. I'm joined by Rick.
Heyo.
And a new cast member tonight. For those of you who haven't met him yet, this is Lucas. Lucas, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, I don't know what to say about myself here. So
He's a Chiefs
been a
fan.
little busy.
That's automatic.
Yeah, I am a Chiefs fan. Hey, we had a good draft this last weekend there, Rick.
You had a lot of picks.
Hey. Lucas is also celebrating a birthday. Oh.
That was yesterday, Rick. So that's old news.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of like the Transformers announcements. I mean, once you're a day past, I mean, it's like, why even bother?
Yeah. If we had this live stream a day before, we could have got in time. But just like the Hasbro live stream events, we're a day late and $1 short.
Oh.
So, tonight, our topic du jour is collecting horror stories. So, basically, times that we have been burned. And while some of us have our own stories, we're also aware of quite a few stories from out there in the collecting universe that we'll share. And hopefully you folks will, viewers and listeners, will gain some insight on how not to end up in one of these collecting horror stories. So, Rick, I don't remember if it was you or Peter that suggested the topic. I think it was yourself. So you seemed enthusiastic about it, so why don't you get us started?
Oh, man.
I just want to say before Rick starts that I'm very disappointed that Paul's not on the show, because I would assume that he would be able to go an hour on this topic just by himself.
Yeah. I've got some of Paul's stories I will share.
Complaining about him?
Right. Exactly. I think he has his own section of Twitter where people complain about him. So
right.
And Reddit. Don't forget Reddit too.
Oh, that's true. And does he have his own thread on TFW?
He probably has his own subreddit at this point. Or yes, it was probably his own thread on TFW.
He probably has his own Facebook group and whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I saw World's Worst Person was trending on Twitter, and I thought, it's going to be about Trump. Nope, it was about Paul.
So, Nick has good stories too. Yeah, thanks, Catherine. That in the chat.
And Nick's got it from both.
We always get to hear. It's always fun.
Yeah, Nick's one of those dudes
that's
got
fun seeing some.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Nick's got it from both angles of both being a seller and a buyer.
Right. It's always fun, like on the Facebook groups where people complain about certain eBay, buyers, sellers, whatever. Some of the dumb comments that people send in and questions. And
I mean, if you're new to collecting, there's some legitimate questions and some legitimate concerns, and I kind of get it. And I think those of us who've been in the collecting community for a while sort of look at those people as, oh, you're a filthy noob. But it doesn't hurt to ask until we start to make fun of you for asking. But it's probably better to get some ridicule than lose some money.
So this is the episode where it's the self-deprecation episode, I guess, where we say how stupid we've all been, or we explain to people stupid things we've done. And I was thinking about this because I was setting up a display case over there, and I pulled out a Palisade statue. Anybody remember what those are? Show of hands. No, nobody.
I do.
Palisade statue. So Palisades made some statues, and I'm pulling out the bumblebee. God, was the bumblebee Palisades?
Was that Hard Hero?
Doesn't matter.
Or was that Palisades?
No, it wasn't Hard Hero.
Okay.
It was a tiny one. Anyway, so I pull it out, and I'm like, oh, I remember this. And the reason it's an infuriating story because at that point, I got this thing well over 10 years ago. But at that point, I was already an eBay pro. Right? I was there when eBay started. Before there were watch lists. All right? When you can go on and leave all your friends feedback if you didn't buy anything from them. They could leave you feedback, and it didn't matter. So I get the statue, I unbox it, and it was like $50 buy it now. Done. I love art. I love statues. Boom. No brainer. Get the statue. Why, it's missing an arm. I'm like, that motherfucker. I'm a find this person's house. I'm a wipe out their bloodline. So first thing I do is let me just go check the eBay thing, right? Because I'm about to light this man's life on fire. And sure enough, in the eBay description, it clearly says, for $50, you will get the statue missing an arm. And me, not realizing that people sometimes sell crap on eBay, have now been stuck with a statue missing an arm. And I refuse to replace it because it reminds me to pay attention to what I'm doing. So, be careful what you buy. Read the fine print. Because even if you're even if you're a pro, you can burn yourself. You may not get burned by others, but you might burn yourself.
I feel like that's every eBay, I mean, not every eBay story, but a lot of them where they bury something at the very bottom of the description, or they say, see pictures for details. And it's like somehow posed just in the right way where you can't tell that it has a crack or a missing thing or just whatever it may be. I mean, I'm sure that we've all had plenty of eBay, stories where there was some type of issue, and that if you would have been more careful at looking over the listing, you would have been able to tell. But I don't know about you guys. A lot of times when I'm looking at those, there's multiple listings you're looking at, and so you kind of like, they all kind of run together, and you don't realize the one that you bought, for the good price had, whatever issue with it.
It was a quick instant buy. Like, oh, that statue for $50? That's a no. I gotta get it. How did nobody else not get this? Because everybody else took the extra 5 seconds to read the description. The first thing I look at is the feedback. Feedback's 100%. Boom, do it. And I'm pretty sure out of spite, I still left them negative feedback. That was before you can like get arbitration involved and say no, they're wrong for leaving me negative feedback. You were stuck with it.
Yeah, I'm not sure you're actually allowed to leave negative feedback at this point on eBay. I'm sure you can, but it's very difficult.
So that's what we're starting off with, and it reminded me of another one. But before I go, I'm gonna see if you guys have Still, surely a man with a beard like that has something.
I've got a few. So I'll do a quick story that's similar to that, and then something else your story reminded me of. So I bought a G1 Jetfire off of eBay, and in the pictures he had a cracked ankle armor piece that was broken. And so it was sort of buyer's remorse when I got him, and was like, well, it wasn't listed in the description that he was broken. The seller did say, well, hey, you can kind of see it in the picture. I'm like, dude, it's like hidden behind his leg where this piece is sitting on the ground, not attached to him. So I got lucky in that regard, and the seller refunded me, and I shipped it back. I still do not have a G1 Jetfire in my collection, so at this point I'm sure it would cost me a significant amount more money than back then. But one of the things you said, Rick, that reminded me, when you're looking on eBay, yeah, absolutely, great point. Check what the eBay seller's rating is at, and check where the eBay seller is located from. Because there are story after story on Facebook of people, I'm sure all kinds of groups, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, different message boards out there, of these eBay sellers based in China that are selling fans toys or MP stuff at prices too good to be true. And by the time you actually get it, what you're getting is a bracelet.
I've got a good story on that.
Yeah.
Here in a minute. I was just gonna say, as far as the picture stuff, I feel like I've been pretty good about reading the descriptions and looking at pictures. I normally don't ask for more pictures. I usually just ask the seller if there's any issues or whatever that you can't necessarily see personally. But I have had a couple instances where you couldn't tell by the picture that something was cracked or, whatever, and they didn't describe it. And so I would have to go back to the seller and say, hey, what's up? So depending on the item, sometimes I, might ship it back, or if the seller says, hey, what if I knock $20 off? Is that going to work? And, so just kind of depends on what it is. But I'm usually not quite as picky as I know a lot of people try to have something where it's completely pristine, mint in box, and, so just depends on what the item is. So I'm sure, some of our other guys like Nick and Paul and those guys that are on the seller side always appreciate people asking for more photos, but then the person not actually buying the item after you ask for a laundry list of more photos. So,
speaking of Jetfire, I thought I was doing a friend a favor. He's like, hey, I'm looking for a Jetfire styrofoam. Do you know anybody? And I'm like, hey, I happen to have a few extra Jetfire boxes with the styrofoam. I'll send you one. I'll just send you one. Don't worry about it. I'll just send it to you because we're friends. And he gets it. And he's like, hey man, I really appreciate that. Thank you. It had a sealed set of instructions in it. With the stickers and everything. And I'm like, oh, that must have been mine. That must have been the one that must have been mine. He's like, oh, well, I really appreciate it. So rather than say, oh, hey, dude, you sent me the wrong one. Thanks to you for sending me this free item. No, fuck you. I'm keeping this. So don't be nice to people is the point. Especially not your friends.
I feel like I should have been better friends with Rick a while back. Wouldn't have had to pay for a Jetfire.
Right. Rick would have just sent you his extra one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Jetfires, hey, my Jetfire's in the Smithsonian. Did I ever tell you this story?
I believe so.
I did. Okay.
But share it again.
I don't think I've heard it, but yeah.
Oh, so when Revenge of the Fallen came out, everybody on the Hasbro team went to the movie premiere in California, but low guy on the totem pole, Rick, because I was new at the time, they're like, hey, Rick, instead of going to the premiere, we're going to send you to Washington, D.C., and you're going to set up the Transformers exhibit. By the way, I think they're looking for a few items, so if you can just talk to them and figure that out. So I'm talking with the people setting up the display at Smithsonian. They're like, hey, we're looking for an Optimus. We're looking for a Jetfire. original ones. Do you know anyone who has it? I'm like, I do, but can they go in as a, thanks to Rick Alvarez and not Hasbro? And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. So I have an Optimus Prime and I have a Jetfire in the Smithsonian as accredited to me. And while they're no longer on display, they're in the Smithsonian vault, and you can Google the Smithsonian website to actually see them, see my Jetfire and my Optimus, and it still has my name on it. So that's just a little side Jetfire story.
I'm pretty sure the plot to National Treasure 3 is Nicolas Cage stealing those toys.
I think he's going to be on the hunt for his career in that one.
I mean, this new movie, side note, but this new movie of his has got a lot of buzz, and I want to see it. So his career's got a little bit of a surge there.
He's not a bad actor. He just makes a lot of bad films.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah.
He just makes some bad choices, which is, goes with tonight's theme.
Don't we all?
Speaking of bad choices, so I'm cruising the Facebook, and this is something I'm currently dealing with, and I come across these people, Sarah and Dave, in the UK, and they do 3D printing, and they 3D print this matrix, and they put it up. They're like, hey, $150 or $110 for this 3D printed matrix. Everyone's like, oh my God, it looks so good. It looks so good. It looks so good. So I go back and forth. I message them, go back and forth. And I'm like, hey, what if I want one that's like 5 times that size? Like a big one. That one's like too big for me to hold. Like it's like 1-to-1 scale with Optimus. And we come up with a price. And I pay them. And luckily I paid them, not friends and family. I paid them the other way. As I'm buying a service from them. They told me, hey, it printed. Hey, it shipped. Nope, never printed, never shipped. Contact back and forth. Hey, this thing hasn't arrived. Give me some proof that you shipped it. They're like, oh, well, we haven't done it yet. Like, so you lied to me. And so I had to open a PayPal dispute case, and so now I'm waiting. They have until I think the 16th of May to respond to PayPal. And so be careful when you buy off social media. But if you buy off somebody you don't know, learn my lesson and don't send them friends and family, because they're not your friends and they're not your family.
Yeah, so that's always a good case in general. Also, there's an expiration date on that as well. As I learned from a Kickstarter for Moss Toys, that after a while you can't get a claim back from your bank. Or credit card, whatever it may be. Just to, just make sure you look into that as you're backing things or doing things and whatever. And I had another instance like that happen, Rick, where what was the guy's name? He was a guy in the community, and he was making the ARC backgrounds. So he ended up ghosting a bunch of people, myself included, with it, where he just wouldn't respond. So I've been out that money. He was supposed to have it done, I think, in 2018. So, and still not done. So says he's working on it still, I guess, or something. I don't know.
So I'm a vindictive person. I try to do good in this world, but I'm something about people named Rick are just assholes in general. So I am actually thinking of going to TF Nation in the UK on the off chance that they might be there, either as a dealer or just I randomly pass them in attendance. And then you can extrapolate what might happen should we come face to face.
I like, Rick, that you specifically want to go to TF Nation just to run into someone who's wronged you.
On the off chance that they might even be there. Who knows? They may not be there.
Well, Rick, you've just blown that plan by telling the world your plan on the most watched podcast there is.
But, cool your jets there. They don't. I'm pretty sure they don't get this channel in the UK. So.
No.
Yeah, it's like the hub. Outside the US, it doesn't exist.
I never realized that the hub was only a US thing. I never thought about that.
That's why Prime was on Cartoon Network in Canada.
That makes sense.
Well, there you go.
So I think a couple other words of advice I'd give to folks from that story, Rick, and I think you're using goods and services is a great one. I think be careful when you're buying something that someone is making. Those things more often than not turn out well, but there are times where the person gets behind, the person gets backlog, or sometimes they just decide not to do it. So yeah, make sure you're giving yourself a way to get your money back anytime someone is making something for you. Anytime you're buying anything offline, make sure there's a way to get your money back. But when someone actually has to make it for you, there's a chance where it will not come back in the quality that you were originally promised, the time frame you were promised, all sorts of those things. So, and as Lucas said, be mindful of the time frame you have to get your money back.
So that, your words struck me really hard right now because so I own a frame shop and everything is handmade by me. Everything's handmade. And so people trust me. They leave me with their art or their photographs, and they trust that I'm going to make something for them, right? But I require a deposit. I very, very little do I ever have. If it's under $100, you got to pay up. You got to pay the whole thing. If it's under $100, right? Anything over $100, pay me half now. When you come back, you love it. You pay me the other half, or you don't pay me. So that's a good way of, I think, doing business when you have to make something and someone's trusting that you're going to follow through on it.
Well, I think customs are always tricky because those always take a really long time. And most of the people doing those, it's almost as much a labor of love as anything else. So the timeline can be kind of tricky when you order a custom, especially from smaller sellers and whatever. So I think that the main thing is making sure that they have a good reputation, that you've checked everything, and that you're getting regular communications from them to where if they say that they're delivering it in, whatever, a month, 2 months, 6 months, whatever it may be, that, that they're good on your word and aren't just going to, ghost you or do
That's
whatever.
Right.
And I mean, that's happened a lot with people in the community. So
that's right. I got a win story. It's my only win story for the night. Go on eBay and I bought a Destros Decimator. I think it's called. Whatever the Iron Grenadier Destro vehicle was for G.I. Joe. So it's taking forever. And I'm like, trying to contact the guy. I'm like, you going to ship it? Is it shipped? Did it ship? You going to ship it? Has it shipped? Did you ship it to me? Did you ship it to somebody else? Did you ship it to yourself? So open up a complaint with eBay. Time goes by. eBay's like, yeah, we haven't heard from this dude, so here's your refund. Great. The next day I got it in the mail. So I got a free G.I. Joe toy. But that was because the guy was just...
Did the guy contact you afterwards or anything? Or just never heard from him? That's weird.
Nope. In fact, I think maybe his eBay account got suspended. So that was the end of that, and I got a win. Got a rare win.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I think just on either side is just make sure that you're communicating like as a seller too, because yeah, if even if you shipped it, if you don't have proof that you did, I mean, it's like
Right.
how do you tell?
So, I take a picture of every single item that leaves my store. Before the customer comes picks it up, as soon as I finish it, I take a picture. Because if they get it home and they say, "Hey, this corner is banged up," I look at the picture and I go, "It wasn't banged up in the store. So you either did that yourself or it was a ghost. It wasn't me. So I can fix it for you, but it's going to cost you." So CYA, cover your anus.
I had a buyer buy the Transformers Cyberverse Build-A-Figure McAdams off of me a couple months back, and he had no eBay feedback at all. So that was a big flag to me that I was kind of just on alert. And I brought the toy with me to the post office with all of the packaging material and had my 7-year-old son hold my phone and record a video of me packaging the toy and applying the label, just in case the guy came back and said that it came in busted or all this. So I packed it very securely, but did everything. Held up the toy to the camera, packaged it, wrapped it all up, and my son did a great job of holding the camera steady and recording all of it. Held up the address label, showed me put it into the big giant metal drop box in the post office, and fortunately never got any complaints. Didn't get a positive feedback or negative feedback, but the guy has one positive feedback response now from his purchase from me. So. Yeah, that's easier to do with smaller toys than something large that you might be shipping to somebody.
I have one negative feedback in all my 580 some feedbacks. I have one negative. I sold an MP01. The original MP01. No, it was the MP03. Whatever it was the Ultra Magnus. Mm-hmm. It was the white version of the original Masterpiece Optimus. It was sealed. I know where it came from. It came from Takara. It was received while at Hasbro. So I know exactly where it came from. I mailed it off. Guy leaves me a feedback saying he opened the box. It wasn't it. I'm like, dude, so you either lied or somehow Takara might have put in a lucky draw or something or a prototype and said, here. And I'm like, I'm never going to open this. And I sold it. And you got that instead. And you're too stupid to realize what it is. So I hope it's just the guy was an asshole.
Well, did the guy provide pictures?
No. This was, no.
Is this back in the day?
No, this is like roughly 10 years ago.
Okay.
So I don't think you could submit pictures with claims back then. Or just, it was just negative feedback.
People had to mail their Polaroids or something.
Right. They had to write a letter to their senator and get, and that's, get nominated to be able to send pictures to eBay. And it was a whole process. They made it really hard for you.
Oh, so my story, going back earlier about the Chinese seller thing, mm-hmm. Right? So first off, I usually try not to ever buy from Chinese sellers, just as a point of practice. There are a few good ones, guys in Taiwan or Hong Kong and in China, whatever. So I can't remember. It's like Babo something or other has like a huge thing. He's like a pretty good seller. I think that there's a few other guys that I bought from and never had issues with. However, there was a toy, don't even remember which one it was, but couldn't find it from reputable sellers, couldn't find it in the U.S. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and buy it from one of these random Chinese sellers, right? So tried to pick the one where it looked like it was a legit price. It looked like that the person had plenty of feedback. Like you go through the feedback, it looked like that they had been selling, like plenty of like regular items, like people were giving good feedback on those items, all that type of thing. Check there's a thread on TFW 2005 which lists out the like good and bad sellers from China. Like check that list. He was on the good seller list and all that, right? So I I'm just kind of checking on my item after I ordered it, and I'm like, about a week later, I start seeing that this guy starts getting negative feedback, and I'm like, oh no, this isn't good. And so you just keep seeing the like list grow, and then you see that people on TFW are like, hey, I think I got scammed by this guy, and so I'm holding out hope, but no. So I get it in the mail, and it's I think it was like a trans.
Uh-oh.
Lucas, you're getting all choppy there on us.
Lucas died. Lucas, you died. Oh no.
And so, am I cutting out?
You're a little better now. I think you're coming in better on the live stream than you are for us here.
All right, so you got
it may just be behind or something, but so anyway, so I'm like, well, not to fear, I'll go ahead and just open up a claim with eBay. So eBay, like I open it with them and they're like, oh, well, you're going to have to like press charges against this guy. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, this is like $100 item and the dude's in China. Like what, like there's no jurisdiction, whatever. Like, no, you have to submit. So I had to like run down to the police station to like submit a police report or whatever for this. And like the police are just like mystified. They're like, what? Wait,
mail?
You got... Yeah, I guess. And so like so like the police are just like, what do you want us to do? Like, we're not going to do that. Like, quit wasting our time. And I'm like, well, I appreciate that. And I don't want to waste my time or your time, but eBay's forced me to do this, right? So I literally had to patch in and get the badge number from the police officer at the police station that was like, I'm not filing a report, sorry, and he had to talk to the stupid people from eBay. So they luckily changed it, like for whatever reason. I guess they must have gotten too many claims at that point, and I don't know if they just had a lot of people getting chargebacks. And the problem with that is that like what happens with these eBay sellers is like they're good for a while, they get feedback, and then they just tank it, and then they cut the money and run, and like eBay's not going to see it anymore, and eBay actually has to cover the like as part of their like whatever fraud guarantee,
buyer guarantee now.
Buyer guarantee for the cost. And so I think that at whatever point they're like, this is costing us way too much money. And so instead of them actually putting in like legit, like practices or whatever, like updating what they're doing, they just tried to make it harder for the buyer to claim their money back. But I did get my money back eventually. But it was not a fun process to go through.
Yeah, I went through that same thing with the Fans Toy Brawn, and it was after the point that eBay had made it easier to get your money back. So I did get my money back on that. The item was shipped, and then that was it. There was a tracking number that didn't go anywhere. The tracking number like never left China, and eBay gave me my money back. But again, that whole kind of pump and dump scam on eBay is more common than you'd like. So if you see a price that looks too good to be true, it probably is. It's either A, like Lucas said, something where you're never going to receive the actual item, or B, it's very likely a knockoff. So, double check, again, what the description is. Going back to the idea, the paying with goods and services, another scam that's popped up a little bit more recently to be mindful of and watch out for is you're buying something off of someone off of like Facebook, and they're like, yeah, I can do PayPal. Yeah, I'm good with PayPal. And you're sitting there and you're trying to send the money and it's not going through, and they're like, oh, well, try this, or, try that. And finally, like, oh, something must be wrong with my account. Just send it to me through Cash App or Venmo or Zelle, one of these other pay services where you can't as easily get your money back. And in fact, sometimes you can't get your money back at all. And so at that point, you're kind of screwed. And sometimes these con artists will even have like a screenshot to make it look like their PayPal's down or something's wrong. And so they come off at first to start to say like, yeah, you can pay me goods and services. That's fine. And then, after you kind of throw your hands up in the air saying, well, all right, you're going to let me pay you through a legit manner. You don't sound like a sketchy person. I'll pay you through the more dangerous method because I think you've already proven yourself to be trustworthy. And that's when they get you, and they get your cash, and you're SOL not going to get that money back unless you maybe fill out some police report, but it's unlikely that would ever result in your benefit.
So, man, that reminds me when I was in college. This was back like 2002, 2001. Somebody got my credit card number I didn't have a credit card. I had a debit card. But it had the Visa logo on it. Anyway, somebody got my card number, charged $5 and then $10 at the pizza place just to make sure the card was working. And then all of a sudden it's like $200, it's $300. So I go to the bank and I'm like, hey, somebody's charging stuff on my card. It's not me. It's like, well, we're going to freeze your account. But what you need to do is you need to call each vendor, tell them what's happened, and then tell them that the police will get involved if they don't give you your money back. So me, naive, 20-some-year-old kid, start calling vendors, and they're like, sorry, we're not, no, get out of here. Get out of here with that. We're not giving you your money back. Get out of here, you stupid kid, punk kid. So the world is a shitty place. Don't trust.
Yeah, I would say in general that try not to use your debit card on items if you can. That you probably want to try to use some other something else with purchase protection, like PayPal, or if you have a credit card. And I don't know as far as debit cards, but a lot of times if you're buying things online, I think you can generate temporary card numbers, so then that way it can only be used for certain things. And so if you do it that way, then you're not putting your credit card number. So like, let's say, for example, if you buy something from, I don't know, TF Source, and then they get their stuff hacked from their credit card processor multiple times, you don't have to worry about getting your information stolen. So
yes, which is what happened, remember, with the club, and everyone got their stuff stolen from the club. And I remember I had a bunch of people, friends of mine, saying, hey, you need to address this. You need to figure out this is when I was working at Hasbro. They're like, you need to figure out what's going on. I'm like, what are you talking about? So somebody in the club got hacked, and then I got hacked, and like, you need to figure this out. I'm like, what are you talking? This doesn't involve me. What do you mean? I don't know. File a claim with your. So I had no clue what was going on. No clue what was going on. So so that taught me that for my business, don't have the payment service on your own server, which can be hacked. Use a third-party guy that's responsible for it, like Shopify, right? So if they get hacked, it's on them. I don't keep any of that credit card information. I can't get hacked because I don't have that information. So if you're a seller, do what I do. Go to a third-party vendor to, again, CYA, cover your ass.
So I've got a kind of funny buying story revolving around not this exact toy, and I'll explain why in just a minute. But Fans Toy Sheridan, a lovely little Warpath third party. Oh, I've been one of those dudes, and not intentionally, but yeah, the QC stickers on there. Didn't even realize that till just now. Anyways, never transformed the guy, but I love him. He's cool. He's hefty, and yeah, he's an awesome looking Warpath. So there was a local guy that was doing a fire sale, an in-person fire sale, and one of our friends got wind of it, put it out to our text chain for Chicagoland, and we started seeing the guy's prices, and we're just like, oh my gosh. This guy is selling some nice high-end stuff, Fans toys and MPs, and some nice stuff for some really great prices. And a couple guys reached out to him, kind of made times to come by his house. He wasn't that far away from most of us. And we started going over there, one by one throughout the day. And, I was interested. I got my Fans toy, Sovereign Galvatron from him. I got an MP.
Was it a brothel?
No. This was a dude who was had a kid on the way and had to raise some cash for his kid on the way. Like, kind of heard that story a bunch of times. So he was legitimate. Everything about it was wholly legitimate. So I'm like, hey, I'm interested in the Megatron if it looks good. I'm interested in the Fans toy Galvatron if it looks good. And then I saw sitting there, I'm like, ooh. Sheridan, and he had a great price on Sheridan. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, is that guy still available? He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, I'll take all three. So I do the whole exchange. I even pick up a MP44 for Surge, and hop in my car and start to head home. And I'm driving home. I had to take the highway home from this guy's place. And basically, once I get on the highway from this guy's place, about 5 minutes after being on the highway, there's no other exit for another 10 minutes. So I'm driving down the highway and I start getting a call from an unknown number. I'm like, all right, well, whatever. I'm driving. I'm not going to answer that. And then the number calls back 2 or 3 more times. I'm like, okay, I guess I got to answer this now. And it was the guy, the Sheridan, he had promised to one of my other friends that was coming by later in the afternoon who had already paid him ahead of time on PayPal for it. So I had to then turn around, and the Sheridan that got a great price for, I had to then turn around and give back to the guy because he had already sold it to. And if it was just some random dude,
you didn't have to.
I did.
You could have been like Rick's friend that just kept.
Yeah, I could have done that.
Thanks for the great deal. Sorry, man, that's not my problem.
I don't. If it hadn't been someone that I was friends with, I don't know if I would have done that. My conscience probably would have been guilty, and I would have probably turned around. But especially because it was a friend of mine, I was like, all right, I need to turn around. So yeah, I spent another half hour turning around and giving it back, and then driving back home. So yeah, that was a sad event. I definitely came home quite disappointed and was messaging my friend after that, like, are you sure you want them? Like, you drive by my house on your way back home from this guy's place. So if you don't want them, yeah, feel free to swing by and I'll buy them off you. And no, he wanted them. So yeah, but that's a good guy story. I kind of had one of those. I bought a bunch of stuff, like 4 or 5 items off a guy on eBay. And I get the box, and everything's there, but there's also a Power Master Optimus Prime in there. Ooh.
So I'm like, let me just. I always think, oh, somebody bought this for their kid or something, or I gotta, it's just it pisses me off when I see those returned items to the store and it's the wrong figure in there. Like, I always point those out to the staff. I'm like, somebody's gonna buy this for their kid or their grandkid. They're not gonna know. Anyway, so I contact the guy. I'm like, hey, man, you sent me a Power Master Prime. And instead, he's like, oh, thank you so much for letting me know. I wasn't sure who I mailed that to. I mailed it to you by accident. Could you mail it back to me? And I'll mail it to the guy. I'm like, all right, no problem. But I didn't mail it back. I have it. I'm kidding. Yes, I mailed it back. I mailed the stupid.
So
thing
I was gonna say, so you're the guy.
Yeah, right. No, I mailed the thing back. Yeah, it was just the shell and the head. That's all it was. I'm like, I don't need that. So no, I did the right thing for once, and I mailed it back to the dude. So, be nice to people sometimes. Not all the time, just sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, honest mistakes, forgive people for those and try and be helpful. Karma will come around, hopefully.
I could have been a dick and say, or never said anything. But,
Yeah.
No, if it was a lucky draw figure, I might have not said anything. But
yeah, I got lucky with my Fans Toy Apache. I bought off a dude off of Facebook. It was already a good price. And I get the box, I open it up, and it was, I think, an X-Transbot Stunticon. Like, this is not what I ordered. And, I messaged the dude. He was like, oh, crap. Yeah, I got your box still sitting in my trunk. The Stunticon you got was supposed to go to this other guy. If you send it back to me, I'll send you the Fans Toys Apache Springer, and I'll knock $20 off for you. I'm like, okay. So I got my Apache for under $100, I think, when everything was all said and done, which I was very, very pleased with that.
Yeah, there's sometimes, be nice to people, but, other times, screw them. Do you have... I feel like... I want to know if there's any, screw you stories. Did you guys ever screw anybody? Moment of truth.
So I try not to ever be involved one way or another in a Facebook story. So I don't want someone plastering my name all over Facebook about how I screwed someone else. So I try not to engage in any of that. But I'm the same way, Rick, too, that I feel like I'm too nice and, whatever, to actually screw someone over on something.
But sure enough, it always comes back to bite us in the ass.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, we're all going to get bitten ass by something or someone. I personally prefer not to be the person who bites someone else in the ass. And as much as it's me saying, I want to be a good guy, it's not even that. I just don't want to have that guilt on my conscience. I don't want to sit there and think of myself am I an asshole? And, there's times where I've done small things and felt very, very regretful about it. So, yeah, shame is a very large emotion in my life at times. So I don't need to bring more shame upon myself by swindling someone out of a toy. I will say, if you are on Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, any of the boards, and you're out there blasting people that are bad sellers, that's cool. That's fine. If you're trying to help the community know that someone is a bad seller, that's fine. But if someone's just got something at a high price, okay, don't buy it off that person. If a seller on eBay has something at a ridiculously huge price, blasting them all over social media, I don't know what benefit that creates. You're unlikely to get them to lower their price. You're just causing problems for someone else. And I guess if you think that by causing problems for someone else, you're hurting the other person, you sort of are, but you're not helping other buyers to not buy from them. You're not really helping yourself. You're just kind of trying to do a two wrongs make a right sort of thing from my point of view. So I don't know. I mean, if you think someone's overpriced, that's fine. They can be, but the market will either put them out of business or something else, or they'll lower the price.
Yeah, I mean, just because someone I don't know, let's call this person, forget it. It doesn't matter what we call them. But listen, just because someone has, say, Voyager figure for $80 on their website, right? It's capitalism, man. They can sell it for whatever they want. They can charge whatever they want for it. Doesn't mean they'll get it. Doesn't mean they'll ever make money off it. Doesn't mean someone will be stupid enough to buy it. But hey, they can sell it for whatever they want to sell it for. Why do you have to be a dick and say they're a shitty person for not selling it at the price you want them to sell it at?
That's it in a nutshell.
Don't buy it from them. You're not going to anyway. Chances are no one else will either. So what's the matter?
So is that the horror story that we bought something for too high a price from random internet seller, and then we could have found it, shortly after that if we would have just waited patiently?
I'm sure we all have if I had just waited, I wouldn't have paid that much for it.
Yeah.
You know, I got a million of those stories. But I always get nervous that I'm not going to find it.
Yep.
You know,
you're missing out.
And then it starts showing up in like the UK and stuff like that. I'm like, crap. So I got to contact the UK contingency and be like, all right, get this for me. Get me 2 of them. Ship them.
Yeah, it's something like 90% of the time patience will pay off, but that 10% of the time where you don't get something, we feel the sting of that so much and influences our decision making so much more than the other 90% of the time where the thing does come through.
Yep. You know what I was patient on? That stupid Road Rage figure, that Target exclusive, the red tracks.
Yep.
And I lost out on it. Because people started posting, hey, I found it at the store. And I said, you know what? I'll wait. I'm going to find it at the store. I'll find it at the store. I never found it.
You could have ordered it online. Did you not get it?
No, I never got it. I don't have it. I don't have it. So if someone out there wants to sell me one, I would like to buy one.
I swear that I swear it even went on clearance or something at Target.com.
You're not making me feel better.
I think Lucas and I are both checking to see.
Are you not a red card exclusive?
No. Can you buy me 2 of those and I'll PayPal you right now?
No, I can't because I already bought my own and they limit it. But if you can find someone with a red card, it's on Target.com for $22.99. You can get it shipped to you like this week. Why don't you just sign up for a red card, Rick?
Is it a credit card or is it a...
It's a debit card.
No, you can do the debit card. You can do a credit card or a debit card. Go to Target, make the cashier's day. Make sure to find the cashier that doesn't actually ask you if you want a red card.
Nobody ever asked me because I always go self-checkout.
Okay.
All right, so find the saddest cashier I can and tell them, excuse me, sir,
because it'll make their day.
I'll sign up for a red card and make their day.
Yeah, but no, they do still have it. Unfortunately it's a red card exclusive, but you can order it from Target.com. I just confirmed online.
All right, so I'll do that then.
Yeah, it's still a red card exclusive, at least online that I can see.
All right then. Oh. Well, I think that covers it. Thanks, everyone.
And, I don't have anything else. Phil, you got anything?
No, just be smart. If something doesn't feel right, feel free to pull the plug. I mean, there's very few items that are like one of a kind that you'll never be able to find again, kind of thing. You'll usually be able to find something probably a week later from another seller. You know, maybe not the exact same price. Heck, maybe be a better price. But if it feels fishy, just pull the plug.
Hell, I mean, there's plenty of items that I thought, high-end items that I thought this will be the only time I ever see this. And they've shown up again. So, patience. I guess being patient, I talked to Lucas, and Lucas is like, go get a red card, you idiot. And
what's funny is I actually tried to order one from Paul because he had the same issue. And it got rejected because I had already bought one, so... I've already tried to do this for someone, Greg. So,
all right. Well, I'll go do that then. It shall be done.
I will say.
So I do want to mention book club Lost Light 1 and 2 this week is what Zaldron said earlier. So
I think going into this, we were trying to set the record for shortest TFYLP episode, and I think we may have done that.
I don't know. I think there was one where the audio cut out about a month ago. If you count it as an official episode.
Yeah, that lasted like 25 minutes of that. That was my first attempt at hosting, and it did not go well.
So I do appreciate it, Phil, for you covering for me while I've been off working at my new job. So
I hope it's going well for you.
So anyway.
All right. Well, we got a good amount of folks to thanks. Antoine, especially. Thanks for popping in. Haven't seen you jump in here before, but certainly Zaldron, Ron, Catherine, Spaceboy G78. Thanks for joining us in the chat. And I hope there's going to be a Microcasters this week. I know that's been a little bit in flux. We had one last week. And Rick, is there going to be a cut the tape?
I don't know. I keep sending them to Lucas, and Lucas doesn't put them up, so... He's got 2 episodes.
Did I not put the last one up?
You've got 2 episodes in the bank, and you haven't put them up yet.
Oh, I apologize about that. Sorry, Rick.
Apologize to Zeldron, who's the only guy who watches them.
I will try to get that up this week. I'm sorry about that.
Hear that, buddy? He's gonna try and get them for you.
I'll try. I'll do my best. I will say that I know I'm not going to be able to be on Microcasters myself because I'll be driving back to Kansas City Thursday night. But
I believe there's going to be an OOF on Wednesday night as well. Paul has indicated that there will likely be a special OOF this Wednesday.
I might have to pop in for that. I may have a little something.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, and a story to go with it.
Well, gentlemen, appreciate you joining. Listeners and viewers, appreciate you listening and viewing. And on that, guten Nacht.
Oof.